Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports, or should I say the Pro Football Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. I'm your co-host, Ben Dickerson. Oh boy, it's that week before the Super Bowl. Plenty of other stuff going on though. I got a chance to catch up on my college basketball to get ready for March Madness. Starting fantasy baseball already. Yeah, I know. I'm crazy. Let's talk some football, man.
Fantasy. All right. First quarter, we usually talk a little bit about how we did last week. But there was no last week. There was the Pro Bowl. Let's just mention that I'm hearing more and more people pushing back against the Pro Bowl. I heard one suggestion that they just eliminate the Pro Bowl and only have Olympic-style athletic events, like the 40s and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, it's the skill competition, which they had the day before.
Right.
But it was very short. There were very few participants and very few actual competitions. It was just kind of something to fill time.
People playing around.
Yeah.
You know, when I heard Parsons beat the Cheetah in the 40.
It was legit.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Because the Cheetah wasn't even trying to run.
They shouldn't have got out there.
Well, maybe so, but he wasn't really trying to run. And apparently, Parsons and Chubb had something going on.
Yes, they had a personal.
He wanted to beat Chubb or whatever. You know what happened with that?
I don't know exactly what it was, but from the sound of it, Chubb said something to him first. And Parsons took it to heart. By their actions, and this is just me talking, I would not be surprised if there was some money involved, but of course they weren't going to mention that. Now, the reason I say it was legit was, first of all, if Tyreek Hill didn't want to run, he shouldn't have run. He lined up, there's 4 guys, 3 of them got down in track stances or stances as if they were going to run a 40-yard dash. And he was in a 2-point stance, standing straight up. They all got out of blocks before him, all 3 of them. He couldn't make that up. He couldn't have made that up. They blew out of there. They caught him flat-footed in the blocks. Not real blocks, but you know what I'm saying. They caught him flat-footed at the start. He tried to give it a little effort, and he was like, nah. So no, he didn't run full speed. He wouldn't have caught him. Parsons was out strong. Chubb was out strong too. I forget who the 4th guy was.
But
it was a race between those 3.
If he was really trying to compete, wouldn't he have been down in the 40 stance like everybody else? Or you think he was just that overly confident that he didn't even have to do that?
I think he was overly confident.
But that's what you think?
That's what I think.
Okay, all right. We talked last week, I guess, about how we did in the conference championships. So let's get ready to go right on into the next quarter. I'm going to share the rankings as little as they are, and the Bias Plus reports. So there's only 2 teams to rank. And for people who follow us, they will easily see the correlation between the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings and the Pro Football Bias Plus reports that we're going to show in a moment. However, what this also does give you is it gives you a little more of the internals, the points for, the PF, the points against, and the turnover differential. Again, these are gross numbers and the first or the third column, you have the rank the team, and NP stands for net points. So obviously in first place, the Rams are at 117. Rams put up 544 points over the season and the postseason. The Rams put up or only allowed 427. The Bengals won the turnover differential battle with a +7 compared to the Rams +2. The Bengals put up 97. The Bengals had net points of 97. Again, these are positive plus numbers. In net points, you can have negative numbers, but this is the Super Bowl, so we're not talking about those groups. They scored 532 points and gave up 435. So they scored a little less, gave up a little more, did better in the turnover, but you kind of see what's coming, don't you?
Well, what I see what's coming is the Rams will be favored.
Exactly. I mean, bottom line, ladies and germs, if you look at the difference, that's what the bias is. It's the difference in net points and the difference in turnover differential. And we simply combine those two numbers. This is probably the most fundamental stats that you can have. And again, I'm still trying to decide if I want to add in one other factor. Let me ask this real quick, Ben. Turnover downs, third and fourth down. Now they're different in that they're not a point situation. They're a percentage. So I haven't exactly figured out how that, but they do represent turnovers as far as I'm concerned. When you make a team punt, they're giving you the ball. That is a turnover. So I'm just wondering, do you think that would be an interesting additional piece of information to add into the Bias Plus?
So what we're talking about is turnover on downs.
Right.
What it would be called.
Turnover on. So it's still
down.
TOD, right?
Yeah. Tied 1 and tied 2.
Tied 1 and tied 2.
Wow.
Don't worry about the math, but just the concept.
Yeah. I mean, I think that might be worthwhile kind of doing on the side to see how it looks. It would be interesting because I think turnover on downs is important. I think the number of times a team turns the ball over on downs kind of tells part of the story of how the game goes. There are a lot of different factors that you can give points for when you play fantasy based on real things that happen in the games. And in one of my leagues, we have the points for the number of 3 and outs. Now, 3 and out is a turnover on downs. But what they mean is 3 and out, like as soon as you get the ball. So I kick off to you, you go get the ball, you run it back, you go first down, second down, third down, and then you punt. That's 3 and out. If you get 2 first downs and then you go to fourth down and punt, that's just a regular turnover on downs.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so a 3 and out is kind of like bigger.
Yeah, I mean, if I can make
the point,
if you get the ball first and I make you punt it after 3 straight tries and all you punting, and that's kind of strong for the defense.
It's strong for the defense, and it also correlates the time of possession for the offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say that would be interesting. Yes.
I'm going to talk a little bit more on the Madden side also before we go too far into it. Because, I'll wait because we'll talk about the game and strategies and things of that a little bit later. Let's move on to the Bias Plus report. The Pro Football Bias Plus reports for the NFL Super Bowl 56. How you like that feel?
It's pretty nice.
Thank you. You can thank our producer, Barry Sterling Mitchell. Does a great job. LA Rams at the Cincinnati Bengals. We made the point that the Rams would be the away team, although it is their stadium. And the Bias Plus report score of 10 favors the LA Rams. So although the net points was a little greater, the difference in the turnover differential mitigated the total bias plus toward the Bengals, but still favored the Rams overall. It's interesting when I look at them, these teams from a Madden perspective. First off, in the game, and I just updated it, so it's as updated as you can get right now in terms of the rankings and stuff. Rams are ranked 87 overall, and the Bengals are ranked 79 overall, and that's how they have them as set up going into the Super Bowl. When I looked at these two teams, what struck me was that their interior lines were not that strong offensively on either side. The Bengals offensive line in rankings, left tackle to right tackle, goes 78, 75, 73, 68, and 62. Williams, Spain, right, Hopkins, Carmen, and Prince.
Left to right.
Yes.
Okay.
The Rams coming in with their left end, right end, and two interior defensive tackles have Donald rated at 99, Gaines at 77 at D tackle, Brown at 69 at D tackle, and their left end Robinson is ranked 75. They have Von Miller listed as a linebacker on the game.
Okay.
He's ranked pretty high, like in the 90, 93, something like that.
Okay.
In terms of the Rams O-line, their left tackle, they have Whitworth at 86, Edwards 74, center is 71, right guard 76, Corbett, right tackle Haverton 84. So they got their right tackles are pretty good, 86 and 84. The interior again down in the 70s. Bengals D-line, Hendrickson's coming in at 85, Hubbard at 75 at left end. The two D tackles are Hill is 79 and Reeder is 85. So yeah, I was a little surprised, that it was that strong. So just looking at the line, this time of year, as far as I'm concerned, you got skill positions. There's probably not that big of a mismatch between the skill positions and the D-backs, receivers versus D-backs. Bengals are good across the board,
Right.
The Rams without Woods have a bit of a drop-off in the ratings in terms of their receivers. I mean, Kupp is a 97, Beckham's a 86. But after that, they're down in the 60s. Woods would be an 87. Van Jefferson is a 77. But they really drop off in terms of, the rest of their receivers in terms of the rankings on Madden. So I just thought that was interesting. Again, Bengals look a little more evenly distributed. I'm not quite sure why they ranked so much. I mean, 87, 79 is pretty, an 8-point range. That's pretty wide range. I'm surprised that they have the Bengals listed as low as they are. But I'm starting to hear people like the Bengals a little bit more than, they're starting to like the Bengals. I think, and I heard this, and I'll let you go after this. They said like in 6 of the last 7 Super Bowls, the underdog won. I'm assuming they mean the Vegas underdog.
Okay.
But I'd have to think about that a little bit. I didn't have time to go back, but when they threw that out, I was like, really? Okay, that's an interesting stat. So what do you have on this one?
Well, as far as the Madden rankings are concerned, I don't see that that's such a big difference. If you're looking at the skill positions, I would probably say if the Bengals receivers are rated a little lower, than the Rams receivers, and you would have to take into account one of the categories that goes into getting that overall ranking, which we talked about before, and that's awareness. They're not going to give a great awareness number probably to a rookie or first or second year player. So that's going to pull them down a little bit. But the eye test tells me that they match up really well, that they can give each defense, the Rams defense and the Bengals defense, all those receivers pose some serious problems for them.
Well, let me mention, since you said awareness, Jamar Chase is actually ranked 89 in awareness.
Okay, what's Cup? What's Cup?
Well, Cup is, Cup is great. We all know Cup's great.
Now, we all know
Cup's a 99 in awareness. He's a 97 overall. So
that's
what I'm saying.
Overall, he's a 99 in awareness.
Yep.
Why is that? Because he's a veteran. Because he's a veteran. No, because he's a veteran receiver who's been around for 5, 6, 7 years and has had really good stats in all those years and great stats this year. And remember, we talked about statistically what I felt made a great receiver, or at least somebody who I would call a true number one receiver. And to me, that means you have to catch 75 balls a year. If you catch 75 passes or more, you're worthy of being considered a number one receiver. Obviously, if you're in the 80s, 90s, or over 100 catches a year, you're without question a number one receiver. Cup has had season after season after season in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and this year he caught 100-something balls. Yardage-wise, the benchmark's kind of 1,000 yards. Obviously, Cup is over 1,000. I'm pretty sure Chase is over 1,000. So, when you look at them statistically, they probably match up really, really well. So for that awareness difference to be so large, again, is basically, in my mind, and I don't even play Madden, I can't think of any other way that they could come up with something like that, especially for a rookie, and especially if they don't take great consideration into his college experience. That is just because he just hasn't been around. He hasn't seen every defense. He hasn't played every great corner. He hasn't had that experience. So it's difficult to give him something that he hasn't proven that he has. Cup has done that.
Well, 99s are rare, first and foremost. I don't care how many years you got. So Cup has done that plus. Like you were saying, you said probably his awareness would be low. 89 ain't low.
No, I didn't say low. I said lower than Cup.
Well, definitely lower than Cup. Yeah, I would assume that also. That makes sense. So, so the bias is favoring the Rams, and Mr. Dickerson is favoring the.
Well, first of all, when you look at points for, the Rams are above them by roughly 2 touchdowns. When you look at points against, the Rams are above them roughly by 2 touchdowns. When you look at turnover differentials, +7 is way better than +2. Exponentially better. Almost couldn't get that word out. That could be the difference in the game. Let's face it. There's certain things we always say. To get to the Super Bowl, you got to have a really good run game and a great defense, or vice versa. You have to do this, you have to do that. And we also say the team that loses the turnover battle will probably lose the game. Doesn't happen all the time, but it happens most of the time. And the team with the better turnover differential is vastly greater than the other.
Can I mention one thing real quick? You brought it up, and we hadn't really talked about it, so I want you to finish your thought about the turnover differential. But you mentioned running backs.
Yes.
And we hadn't really talked about that. Cam Akers, Sony Michel. Cam Akers rated at 82, Michel at 77.
Right.
Okay. Mixon is rated 93.
Yes.
So That's how that works.
Not surprised at that at all. Cam Akers, if he had been able to play through the whole season, instead of getting a major injury in preseason, would probably be in the 90s. Probably. I would venture to guess that they carried his rating from last year over to this year because he just started playing when the playoffs began. And he hasn't been that great, you know. Michelle had a really good season.
I thought so.
Far better season than the Patriots thought they'd get out of him when they let him go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But, you know, Belichick's thing is better to let him go a year too early than a year too late. But back to the turnover thing. The Bengals defense is no joke. Their pass rush is extremely strong. And when people talk about it on television, they counter that by saying Stafford is really good against the blitz. His percentage of completed passes against the blitz is extraordinary. But then you come back and you counter that with, I can't remember the exact ranking, but the Bengals do not blitz much. So they get a lot of pressure from their front four. That's big. That means that when they do blitz, it's probably going to be extra effective. Okay. And if they're able to maybe slow them down a little bit without blitzing, then that's a plus for them. They play a lot of cover two, but they don't play a soft cover two. They play a tight cover two. Those safeties are up. They depend on their back pedal to cover the deep stuff, and they're in position to make big hits on the underneath stuff. I like the Bengals defense. Now, the Rams defense, you pretty much hear about Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and a little bit about Von Miller. Von Miller is now a situational player. I don't even know if he actually starts. He's a straight up pass rusher. Aaron Donald he sucks up double teams. Obviously, if every other team in the NFL has to double team him, an offensive line like the Cincinnati Bengals that has shown to be leaky at times is going to double team him. Whether or not they can keep him under control, we'll see. But you got a quarterback that has no fear, so all they got to do is just play their game. That being said, and I could go on and on and on.
Said, I smell.
Yeah, I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to because I want to get this out. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. I wanted them to win, even though I picked against them. I did. So, and I gave every reason how they could win, and they checked all the boxes when they won, including the box that I've been warning everybody out there about the Kansas City Chiefs all season, and you saw it. Mahomes running when he didn't have to, running around in circles looking for people, and a tight cover two that didn't allow any bombs to go to Tyreek Hill. And that pretty much kept them under control, got the job done. And their half-ass run game, which never showed itself. But we're not talking about the Chiefs. We're talking about the Super Bowl. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. I'm hoping like heck they win this game. They are the home team, even though the game's being played at SoFi Stadium where the Rams call home. Because they are the home team, just like anywhere else, they're allowed to pick the locker room that they want. Because they're in SoFi, you would think, ooh, psychological warfare. Let's take the Rams locker room. They are allowed to do that. They chose not to.
Interesting.
And the difference, the difference between most home team locker rooms and the visiting locker rooms is pretty big deal. They're very big, very spacious, lush carpet, the whole 9 yards. The visiting locker rooms are very basic and much smaller. They're purposely made for the visiting team to be a bit cramped. Of course, if you're in the NFL a couple of years, you get used to that when you travel. It's not that big a deal. But for this, because the Bengals were the home team, they did have the choice. They chose to take the visiting locker room. They're not giving the Rams any bulletin board material. I haven't heard, and Jalen Ramsey's been on TV every day talking about, I hope they let me travel. I want to play Jamar all over the field. That I haven't heard a word at. Have you heard a word out of Jamar Chase? I haven't heard anything.
They did interview him, but nothing consequential, nothing substantial, no bulletin
Right.
material.
Right.
They're not biting on any. This is a strangely mature team for a team that's
for their youth. Yes. Yes.
And there was one thing that came up. Let me see. Do I have this in my pictures? Bear with me a second. Maybe this is okay. Hold on. I'm going to pause everything for a second. I wanted to show this to you or mention this. Here it is.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So I wanted to show you this. First quarterback, national championship, Heisman, and the Super Bowl if he wins it. You know? And so they were saying, as far as the Super Bowl is concerned, where you would think that, a rookie or a younger team without all the Super Bowl level experience would, might have a problem with all of that hype. He's been in so many big games that he's like, really, this is another big game. It's just football. He knows the difference, And I keep thinking in my mind, man, the interception that was it Jaquiski Tart for my Niners.
Yes.
When they always say Stafford will give you one or two. And he really tried to give us that one. He really did.
Yes, he did.
I mean, when you can turn around and just do like this for like you're receiving a punt.
It was a punt, yeah.
And I keep thinking, I don't believe the Bengals safeties would drop that.
No. No. In fact, I'm sure they saw it in film session and they're all going, I ain't dropping that. Like they're going to be waiting for it. They'll be waiting for it. And when it comes, they'll take advantage.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, like I said, that was the one thing that struck me even in the game was those guys, you can't throw anything sloppy out there. They will pick it off. They will catch that ball, and
I'm telling you, man, the Bengals have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose. Their quarterback is basically still in his rookie year. This guy got hurt halfway through his first season with a major knee injury, came back from it, had a great season, but it's still, in reality, his second season in the NFL. And they always talk about these guys. You get to the Super Bowl, man, you try to win it and you enjoy it and all that because you never know when you're going to get back again. But young guys always feel like, I'm 25. We'll get here again. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But other than that, they have nothing to lose. Nobody expected them to be in the Super Bowl. Come on. Except for some crazy Cincinnati guy who was in Vegas over the summer and saw the sports book and said, I'm going to put $100 down on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. What the heck? I just wanted playing roulette. I'm going to throw it on the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. And now he's going,
Yeah.
So whereas Stafford has a lot of pressure on him. Long career, great numbers, but may not make the Hall of Fame if he doesn't win this thing. He may not make the Hall of Fame if he doesn't win this thing. There's other quarterbacks with numbers similar to his. Also, all the never made it, finally made it and lost one time. I think they made the playoffs and lost one time. Now he's finally there. A team built with veterans put around him. They went all in to win this thing this year. That's a lot of pressure. And he has shown that pressure can get to him. Forget the whole, he throws the ball well against the blitz thing. The guy makes mistakes. They all do, sure. But this guy makes mistakes, I don't expect him to shut Cooper Kupp down. I expect him to have he'll probably get 12, 15 targets. He'll catch 9, 10, 11 balls. Beckham's going to be more heavily used. They'll use Beckham more. They'll use Van Jefferson less, I believe. I don't know if Higbee's going to be back in time. I haven't checked to see if he's okay, but they're going to go to that other tight end. They're going to have a good game. They'll mix and match with Michelle, but Akers will probably get the most. But I don't think that the Rams running game is going to be strong enough over the course of the game. If the score stays close, regardless of who's winning, the score stays close. Yeah, they should continue to run, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to try to take the game over with Stafford, Kupp, Beckham, and the like. Whereas the Bengals should have pretty good success with Mixon on the ground and through the air. Okay. Remember, Von Miller, listed as a linebacker, is actually an edge rusher, a situational pass rusher. He doesn't cover much, if at all. So you can't depend on that. So you're going to have to put an extra nickel back out there or something to make sure Mixon doesn't get out in the flat and catch a pass and tear up the sideline. And as long as they can keep that under control, and the Rams' weakness on defense is the run, could be a problem. I'm every day I like Cincinnati more and more.
I also heard them talking about Joe Burrow, and again, they were talking about like what they have to do to win, right?
Right.
But what's his name? The from the Rams won the Super Bowl, Kurt Warner.
Yes.
Was talking about Joe Burrow, and he was talking about his ability to process information quickly.
Yes. Yes.
And, you know, you and I talked about the ability of these guys to see the receivers at 3 to 5 to 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. And one of the things about that I think is it throws the stats off for the Bengals is how many times he's thrown short passes where they've taken that thing a long distance. They've run it, you know, run after catch.
That's their job.
It's ridiculous.
That's their job. Run after catch. That's why they keep that stat. Yards after catch is extremely important.
Well, Jamar Chase is extraordinarily good at it. It might be his job, but he's really good at that job. Yes, and I think, you know, when you're looking at, you know, like if you look at it and they say a 67-yard pass, if, you know, Joe Burrow, but it was actually a 10-yard pass that went 67 yards.
Right.
You got to understand that, he's ready to throw those short passes and get that ball out of his hands. And that's, like you said, where Mixon can come in, you know, right, and really, you know, depending on how they deploy him. I also am interested at looking at this from a coaching perspective. You know, if I was looking at you know, the coach, Rams coach versus Bengals coach, right, and they're from the same tree, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. Kyle Shanahan,
yes,
you know, all part of that tree. He was beating up on the on the Rams for a while, and the Rams got him, you know, in that last game. But so all of these guys kind of know each other and kind of know a lot about the other team and how they normally do stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and change things. The one thing I do also want to mention, you know, this will probably be a good prop bet. I want to know if OBJ is going to throw another pass.
That is a prop bet. I heard it this morning.
Did you really?
Yes. Well, the bet is it was put out this way. Yeah, it was put out just like that. Will a non-quarterback throw a pass? And you can bet money. There's a yeah. Yep.
I would tell you, I was impressed by the pass that he threw. That when he threw that thing back across, OBJ can throw the ball nice. Like, I mean, he got quarterback type nice.
Good pass.
Yeah. So, you know, that would be a real wrinkle that I'd be interested to see if the Rams kind of throw that in there again. You know, kind of like what my Niners with the pulling tackle or the tackle in motion.
Well,
you know,
like I said, they show those things for a reason. They let you see it early, so you have to figure out a way to defend against it. The more they can give you to think about, prepare for, the better it is for them.
All right. So the Bias Plus favors the Rams. The the Dickerson report favors the Bengals. I think if I don't have a rooting interest. There's enough of personalities on both teams that I'd like to see them get an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. I actually would like to see OBJ win a Super Bowl. I mean, he's, I've been pretty tough on OBJ, from his time leaving the Giants through the Browns. I was a little tough on him, but he really seems to have come in here and blended well. You know what I mean? Did what he needed to do, and he's been a real asset for them. By the same token, it was my Niners who kept breaking the hearts of those Cincinnati Bengal fans. So this would be their first Super Bowl, right?
Who, the Bengals?
Yeah.
No, they lost to the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
No, I mean, if they win.
Their first Super Bowl win. Yes.
All right. So for that, I think I'd probably have to root for the Bengals for them to get their first win. So that if there was a rooting interest. All right, enough of the Super Bowl. Let's talk about some hot topics and current events.
Oh, by the way, point spread's 4.5.
Another weird point spread.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to protect against the field goal win. If they make it 4.5, you basically have to win by touchdown. I mean, it could come out to be a 4.5 point win, but yeah.
The funny thing is that was the other thing that made me kind of like the Bengals a little bit, because I live on the street that their field goal kicker is with the same name, has the same name as their field goal kicker.
Oh, McPherson. Oh, did you see the thing I sent you about the punter?
I think so, but
the Bengals punter was born and raised in Cincinnati.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Cincinnati, went to the University of Cincinnati, was drafted by the Bengals. This guy hasn't had to go anywhere. That's amazing.
That is amazing that you can have that level of both a little league or high school or college and a pro career all in the same city of your birth.
The same city. Never traded, never. He's been there the whole time.
That is amazing. So that's one thing the coach that you used to get on all the time, the Bengals, he didn't cut him either. So that guy seems some tenure changes.
Hey, he's a good punter.
There you go. All right, let's look at some news. Let's start here with Saints running back Alvin Kamara being arrested on a battery charge per Las Vegas police. The thing about Vegas is they have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, as they should.
And apparently they had enough video evidence of him whooping up on somebody, and then his Bulls whooping up on that person after he finished, that they felt, they could go ahead and press charges. So Alvin Kamara is an awesome talent. He's a big asset for the Saints. The Saints don't need that type of noise, but there you go. It is what it is. All right.
And what I read, it was it was a verbal or an accusation of some verbal thing toward either a woman or somebody else that was in his group, that they were traveling together. They were getting off of an elevator. This is what they got to remember, man. And, I know they talk to these players about this all the time. You got to be careful when you're out in public. You're in a hotel where there are other people, Super Bowl revelers, gamblers, people are drinking, they're doing whatever, okay? And they see you, they recognize you. They're going to say stuff, and some of it might not be nice. Supposedly somebody said something about somebody was ugly or they were something, and then something was said back. Somebody pushed somebody, and according to him, the physical altercation happened with someone else in his group. He thought the person was being attacked, so he attacked the other person. Then the person tried to run away, and he chased him. So when he chased him, of course, his buddies chased him, and then the beatdown ensued. Yeah, I don't know, man. You gotta be able to walk away from stuff. You gotta be able to walk
Or
away.
you got to be able to handle it through proper channels. You know what I mean? If somebody's, if you need to complain to management, if you need to complain to security, and all of that type of stuff, you let those people handle those things. That's what they're paid for. And if you're a star of his level, I'm sure you should be able to get, some level of response,
Sure.
So what can I tell you? The other thing that I want to get the bad news out the way real quick. We only had a couple things on the page. Deshae Everett, charged with involuntary manslaughter in girlfriend's car crash.
Oh, not another car crash.
Yeah, another car crash, man. I mean,
what's the details of this one? Was he driving?
I don't even know. I see these things, and I don't, at a certain point, all of the information is going to come out once they start the trial and they do all of that. So it is what it is. But you don't want to see that. It's funny, on my other career as a legal person, marketing legal services, we talk about this type of stuff, man, because our service covers it, man. But hopefully there was no alcohol or drugs or any of that kind of stuff. And if it was just, or hopefully he just wasn't speeding, and hopefully he wasn't even driving. But if he was charged, I'm going to assume he was driving. Even though I will admit, I've heard stories of people being charged who were not the driver. So this legal system that we live in, not always logical. So I don't want to talk about this right now. We're going to come back to that. Let's talk about good news. All right, great story. The NFL, Anthony Harris takes a young fan to the daddy-daughter dance after her father's death. So I don't know how her father died, but from what I understand, she was a big fan. They were big fans. Her mom reached out to him. She didn't know if she would get a response. She not only got a response, but he paid for everything, her dress. I mean, he hooked her up righteously. So, you like to hear this type of stuff. We showed you a couple of the negative things, but as I always say, there's a positive and a negative to everything in my mind. And so to football, you're going to have the positive stories and the negative stories. Ben and Barry on football, you can come here and get all of the details on that story there. All right, let's skip down to Steelers scheduled to interview ESPN commentator Louis Riddick for the GM position. What do you think, Benny?
Very interesting. I like Louis Riddick. I love him on television. I believe the man knows what he's talking about. He has held front office jobs in the past. He has worked for the Eagles. He has worked for the Giants. He has worked for somebody else that I can't quite remember who it was. He's been in GM and assistant GM positions before. I believe this man really knows what he's talking about. I think if a team hires him, I'll miss seeing him on television, but they will have made a very good hire. That's just my opinion. I know he's been talked about over the past couple of years, in fact, about possibly being interviewed or having people on the outside kind of tout him for teams to bring him in for interviews. But it looks like it's going to happen here with the Steelers now. Whether or not he gets hired, we'll have to see. But I respect the man. I respect his knowledge. I think he'd do a really good job.
The first thing I thought was, okay, if you can get more black GMs, and maybe you can get more black coaches. Steelers already have a black coach, so it's not going to add to the numbers per se. But I wish him well. Also, I've listened to him numerous times, and hey, you got to give him credit, his credibility there. All right, Benny.
This guy cracks me up. He looks like a comedian.
He really does. He really does. I guess I'm rolling two things into one here.
Okay.
We talked about the lawsuit, and let's see if I can go down. We talked about, here it is, the NFL initially coming out against, there's no problem, or we'll defend it. We do good. We're this, we're that. It was all like, no. And then all of a sudden, their story changed, and as it says here, Yahoo, Roger Goodell does about face on the NFL response to Brian Flores lawsuit. Now, let me say this much. Again, people have to remember there's the NFL corporation, and then there's the teams.
Right.
And the NFL corporation is there to support the teams, but by the same token, they make up their own minds on things, you know what I mean? And so it's been very interesting listening to people talk about the problem around it. Now, first of all, let me say, I don't know what Roger Goodell makes. I think it's like $50 million a year or some ridiculous amount of money. But just from my time in corporate America and hearing how CEOs and stuff talk, this man is smooth. Okay. This man is smooth. So he's talking to the owners on one side, he's talking to the public on the other side, and he knows that there's a mismatch and how much he's involved and and all of that. It's an interesting little dance. Even listening to some of the people, there's I forget the name. What's the name of the society of black coaches? And they were supposed to be working on additional Fritz Pollard Society, I think.
Yes.
Fritz Pollard Society. They were talking about, the problem. And he was saying, we've been working toward it and we're getting better in the messaging and the this and the that. That's why I put this one up. Okay. Where is he at? There he is. Nobody's really asking the owners point blank, what the hell's going on? You guys won't hire a black, because as far as I'm concerned, that's where the problem is. We talked about this as far as it goes. Nobody's making them accountable directly. So I have a list here. I don't know if this
they never talk about that.
Huh?
Nobody ever says the owners. They don't mention their names. They don't say, this team hired a white coach who is not nearly as qualified as several other black coaches that are already working in the NFL and deserve this job. We wonder why Mr. So-and-so. They never go there.
They really don't. They really don't. So if you have, one or two, maybe now, three, if you add in the guy from my Niners who's identifying as a minority, out of 32, that's about it. But I just wanted to kind of go through, because these are your owners. You want to know who's making these decisions, who's not hiring black coaches? It's those owners. These are those guys, and nobody's putting a mic in front of them and asking them what the heck's going on. You guys won't hire a black coach. So,
right.
They keep playing around it, talking around it, and they're doing a great job of it. But the balls are really small,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to continue to go through this list, but this is on Ben and Barry on football. You want to know, you want to write a letter. You want to know who to write a letter to. These are the owners. You got to go directly to the people who are making the actual decision, who are writing the checks. This is they run these things like they're their personal corporations. They are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Even though we've given the NFL quote nonprofit status, but also because of it, and because it's such a glaring situation, I also posted the article saying that now Congress is thinking about looking into what's going on with the NFL.
Right.
So
as they should with any large corporation.
Yeah, I mean, they're beating the hell up out of all the social media companies now, and everything. And yeah, so there has to be something bigger than those billionaires. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they believe anything is really bigger than them, and that's kind of part of the issue. And then you sent me the article, and let me see if I can pull this up. We'll go back to this, and we'll kind of get ready to end on this one, because I thought this was big. Byron Allen says he's preparing a bid for the NFL's Denver Broncos. Now, I don't know what all the process is, but I do believe that the other owners get to vote.
Yes, they do. And it has to be a majority. And the term good old boys network has been used multiple times in reference to these owners. So just be aware. But the Denver Broncos right now they don't actually have an actual owner. The team is in a trust that was put together by the previous owner, Pat Bowlen, before he passed away. So they will be coming up for sale, I guess, this off season. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other big money bidders out there, but this would be huge, especially now we're talking about, Black coaches and Black GMs. This will be the first majority Black owner. There's some minority Black owners.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But this would be the first majority Black owner, if in fact he is able to make the purchase of the team. So that'd be interesting, very interesting.
And as I mentioned when we were talking, before the show, Byron Allen has sued. I think he sued Comcast, because he was saying, for lack of Black shows or something of that nature, or the ability to get in on the deals that they were, as an African American, that they were offering to everybody else. So he is somewhat litigious. He will sue you. So yeah. The NFL better treat him fairly, at the very least, because he will call his attorneys and get them on the case. They're already involved in preparing the bid, I'm sure, anyway. So, but I think that's a great thing. I mean, Byron Allen, if he could come in there and that would be something I think that would be big for the NFL. And I will also mention, Ben, we always talk about the international expansion. Apparently today, Roger Goodell had his annual, I don't know, where he talks about the State of the Union type speech. And I think they're going to have 2 games in Germany. They're talking again about Mexico and England. So the 2 games in Germany would be big. Now, hopefully, they won't be in the middle of a battle between Russia and the Ukraine when we're trying to play football next season.
Bro, the players aren't going to be happy about that. I'll tell you that.
About playing in Germany?
Yeah, it's a longer flight than freaking England.
Yeah, it's a long flight. It's a long flight. That's for sure. That's for sure. Gotta get one of those football field-sized planes so they have plenty of room.
It's awful. It's awful.
Hey,
let me just say,
they go talk to our boy, what's his name, in charge of Tesla with the rocket ships. He'd probably take them. He'd get them there in no time.
Get them there real fast. Nah, I was just looking over some stuff to go back to Byron Allen. He's been setting himself up to buy an NFL team since 2019. So he's been in talks, preliminary talks, making his interest known, finding out what he's going to need to do it and all that stuff since 2019. Says here his investment group is Wall Street guys, Hollywood people, sports and business people. And he's got like 3 to 4 billion ready to throw down right now. So we'll see.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that is crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, you know, and it's so funny because I watch him on the show where he's sitting there and he's got like 4 comedians and he just gives everybody a chance. They riff a little bit. And that show's been on for years. And I love watching. I'll sit there and watch that
show.
Yeah.
Teresa watches it. That's a really old show. Yeah, he's way richer now than he was when that show first came on.
I'm telling you, but that's how you look. That's how you make that money. That television money is rolling, man.
But it's like he found some time in his day and said, you know what? One of these shows I produce, I think I'll just go on it. Yeah. And he's got comedians. That's how I started. He used to be a comedian.
Right.
So, you know, he's like, I got an extra hour, nothing to do. Let me jump on the show. I'll be a participant. Yeah. That's crazy, man.
You know, then he's got the other thing that comes on was Nothing But Trailers, I think it is.
Really?
Movie trailers, yeah.
Movie trailers.
Like Byron Allen thing. Nothing but movie trailers.
I tell you, if you most people don't read the credits of shows. If you start reading credits, you're gonna see his name popping up a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, I call him the Black Ryan Seacrest. Seacrest has his hands in everything. Yeah. Soap operas, all kinds. If it's on television, he probably has something to do with it. So Byron Allen's the same way, man. He's got the cash. He's obviously got the smarts. Yeah, it would be great to see. I'm rooting for him.
All right. Well, you're rooting for Byron Allen. You're rooting for the Bengals.
Yep.
I'm kind of rooting for the Bengals too. I'm not hating on the Rams. Oh, you know what I did want to mention, and maybe we'll talk about it a little more after the game. But the financial makeup of these two teams is really interesting. You know, you wouldn't think so, but the money that the Bengals have put out seems to be way more than what the Rams have put out. You think the Rams would have a higher payroll? Let me tell you
about the player payroll.
Yeah. So apparently, again, I've listened to like different sides of the story. I'm totally confused about the money, but I looked it up on what you call on Spot Track and a few of the other type of ones that track that out.
Right.
And the Bengals are spending some money. They're spending a little more money than what people might think. Because remember, we were talking about the names aren't necessarily as big, you know what I mean? Right. But it looked as the Rams did things differently, you know. I mean, like they gave up a lot of draft capital, you know what I mean, as opposed to spending a lot of other capital, you know.
Okay. So
I think that's probably at the bottom line of it. But keep an eye on the reports about the money because that's all going to come up a little bit more. We'll make sure I'll make sure I'm better prepared to talk about that. Just kind of dissect that a little bit because that'll come into play as we come out of the season and go toward free agency, the draft, and all of that kind of good stuff that's coming up. All right, I'm done. Any last words?
Let me ask you this. Opinion. If the Rams win the Super Bowl, will Beckham stay or will he leave? They win the Super Bowl and he plays well. He doesn't even have to play great. Say he plays well, catches 6 balls, scores a touchdown.
Well, I think
on the free agent market.
I think he stays. I
think
he likes California. I think he likes LA.
That would be a plus.
You know, he seems to feel very comfortable there. He seems to feel like that's a place that wanted him.
Yes.
And if you win a Super Bowl this year, then you're a contender for the Super Bowl next year, pretty much automatically. So if you you're a contender. I'm not saying you're going to win.
That happens so seldom.
Well, but in order for you to win a Super Bowl, you just have to be that level of a team. And if you can maintain that, at least you're a playoff level team, and then it goes from there. I don't think he feels as if, okay, if we win it this year, we're going to win it next year. Nope, I understand that. But you're on a top level squad right now. You're not going to go too many other places, and get a better squad around you or a better circumstance around you than where you are right now. And I think he seems to be have his head on his shoulders pretty good now. And I don't see why he would want to go anyplace else. Do you?
A lot of free agent money hanging out there. He could hit the jackpot. I'm looking at him like Randy Moss when he went to the Raiders and just wasted away a year or two when Beckham went to the Cleveland Browns and they didn't know how to use him. And people were really down on him and he ain't got it no more and all that. And he's shown that that's totally false. There's nothing wrong with him or his game. It's the system he was in. He wasn't happy. He wasn't comfortable. He didn't perform. That happens sometimes. Or wasn't able to perform to his potential. Get someplace where he's comfortable, like you said, likes the locker room, likes the city, likes the way everything seems to be going his way. They're using him properly, not overdoing it, trying to get him the ball. They gave him a role. He fits the role, and he's being productive. Those are all pluses, but there are also pluses to making him extremely valuable if he goes into free agency. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, that's a great point. There's something going on with the salary cap, which I think it may go down next year.
Down?
Yeah.
I thought we were looking for it to go up.
We were. And when I heard it might go down, I think it might have to do with their averaging out from what happened through the pandemic and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, right. Because when we first talked about it, the way it was planned, the pandemic jumped right in there.
Yeah, it kind of screwed things up.
We talked about it. It screwed everything up. Okay, I can see that.
So it's going to be interesting to see who's got the budget money, and Rams might actually have the budget money, believe it or not. So
maybe
they might be able to give him a very competitive deal. All right, I'm talking above my grade level here. Time.
That's cool.
All right, what you got?
All I got is go Knowles.